My mom likes to say that by helping one person, you might not change the world, but you'll change the world for them. And that philosophy, I think, is incredibly powerful. Because when we talk about all these big problems that the world has, when we talk about all these big issues that we face, we don't have to change it all. We just have to change one person's world. And that makes a massive difference. And I have to say, this community of people that have gathered in this room and the work that you do, it's actually about changing worlds, one person at a time. That is a pretty special thing. As my world changed, I decided that I want to do that for people as well. And so I finished law school and decided to become a doctor. So I sat the entrance exam, I did the interview, and I did everything. And I managed to get a spot in medical school. And in 2008, I started medical school, and life was good. I found my purpose, and I found a why. You know, today I work in the busiest emergency department in this country. And I love my job. When I'm at work, I look around sometimes and I think, I can't believe I get to do this for a living every day. It's a massive privilege. But life was never going to be straightforward. And halfway through medical school, I had a car accident. Actually, it wasn't too far from here. It was on the Gateway motorway, heading southbound. In fact, I feel like it was quite close to where we are. The road was wet. I hit a water puddle. My car aquaplaned, and I had a rollover. I lost control of everything below my chest. I lost sensation of everything below my chest. I lost use of my fingers and half my arms. And it changed my world forever within a matter of seconds. You know, I don't think we know what's going to happen tomorrow, do we? Tomorrow is not guaranteed for us. That's why it's important to seize the day today. And I think that's why it's important to support each other to seize our day as well. I see so many people come in through the emergency department having very significant medical events or traumas. There was a day a couple of weeks ago when I had 2 patients trampled by horses. Significant car accident, cardiac arrest. Some people don't make it. I always wonder whether these people wake up in the morning thinking that they won't be there in the evening. I wonder what they would have done differently. And for me, it was the same as well. You know, I enjoyed having the use of my legs, walking around, running around, doing all these things. But I wonder if I knew that was the last day I was going to be standing, would I have done anything differently? What I also didn't realize was what life was like for a person with a spinal cord injury. I never spared it much thought. I used to see people in wheelchairs and I thought, it must be difficult not being able to walk. But did I ever wonder what it'd be like not being able to use your fingers, not being able to hold things or grab things or scratch myself? Did I ever wonder what would happen if my lung function wasn't what it was? My lung function today is about 35% of what's expected for someone with my characteristics. Never thought about what life would be like if I couldn't control my body temperature, which is another thing I'm dealing with. And then there are all the social issues. We didn't have the NDIS back then. And it was a huge cost to live with a spinal cord injury. This wheelchair that I sit on is about $25,000. Imagine. Well, the other sad thing I realized is I have had some colleagues, sadly, who've had spinal cord injuries as well, worse than mine over the last couple of years. Some of them have been over 65. And even though, arguably, they were in the prime of their life, we have a system that says if you're over 65, you don't get the NDIS. And I often think about what life is like for them. So there are financial issues that people face. My mom and dad split up. We had to sell the home. Some of my friends walked away, and everything became a challenge. I was in the hospital for 8 months. It's the single most undignified experience that I've had. I cannot tell you the dark times that me and other patients experienced in that hospital. I'm sure some of you would have spent time in hospitals, and I very much doubt that most of you would put your hands up to be back there as a patient right now. 8 months in the hospital, another 4 years putting my life back together. And we're talking about things like everything from the financial side of life to community access to figuring out how to get around all those things. It's getting used to life again in a very different way. So I fought back, and there were periods during that journey where my mum and I didn't know where we were going to live the next day. We had no money in the bank. We had nothing. But we clawed our way back. And I never lost the dream of wanting to go back to medical school. So eventually, I found my way back. There were barriers. A lot of people said I couldn't be a doctor anymore. But I didn't listen to them. And I fought my way back into medical school. And luckily, I had some very supportive people. I graduated from medical school with awards. I did well. I even spent some time at the Harvard Medical School, where I was the first quadriplegic medical student visiting them in their history. So, despite all those things, then, even though I'd already signed the contract with my employer to work, even though we were all guaranteed work, I was told that because I was spinal cord injury, I wouldn't be starting work with my colleagues. So I realized that there are barriers to employment as well. But finally, we fought, and I started working now in my 6th year as a doctor. I get to do all those other things that I mentioned. So I talked about this concept about being Australian, about the values that we share, about a fair go. Sometimes it takes a bit of fighting to remind ourselves of those values. Sometimes it takes us to talk about them. Sometimes it takes us to get behind people, to give them a fair go. And I was lucky enough to have people that believed in that. But life is not straightforward for people that live with disabilities. Even getting around the community can be challenging. Accessibility can be challenging. There are so many things. But you know what? It's not just people with disabilities that need to fight. It's not just us that need to advocate. It's all of us, everyone, whether we have a disability or not. You know, when I was struggling to get my job, I had some amazing people behind me. And some of them are the emergency doctors that I work with today. And the senior ones told our employer that they would give up a part of their salary so that money is off the table, so that I could work with them. That's pretty amazing. What I take away from that is that they didn't have a disability. None of them used a wheelchair. In fact, I don't think they even had family members with a disability. But they decided to fight for me. And they were my allies. And they stood with me when I couldn't. And that matters a lot. What we need in these journeys are allies. What we need in these journeys are people who believe in doing the right thing. That believe in standing with the people. Making a more accessible community, making a more inclusive community. Not just benefits those with a disability, but it benefits everyone. Time passes for all of us, doesn't it? And we have different needs as time goes on. But all these environments and workplaces and places of learning, there's so much evidence that shows that if they are inclusive, if they welcome people with different abilities, with different backgrounds, they're more profitable, they're more innovative, they're more happy. And I think cities are like that too. I always think about, again, how lucky we are in this country, because you can just go down the street and find 10 different kinds of food to eat. And you can talk to 10 different kinds of people, get 10 different kinds of ideas about life. And we all do that with peace and respect. That's what makes us beautiful. I think disability is like that too. And so today, on the International Day of People with Disability, I encourage you to think about that. I encourage all of us to fight for each other, to make sure that environments and workplaces, homes, everything is more inclusive, so we can celebrate with each other and create a bright future, because I think that is what this country is about. So thank you.